Sonic. We all know the guy. One of the most famous video game characters and franchises to ever exist. And he isn't just restricted to video games either. He's got comic books, animated shows, and a rare case of a video game movie actually becoming a successful movie trilogy, where the first film was pretty good and the third film was spectacular. However, Sonic also has some elements unlike the ones we are all probably familiar with. Horror. If you all recall, it's now been over a year since we discovered the Shin Sonic Tapes created by Evanimas. Evanimas? I'm not too sure. And just look at how much this channel and series has grown since then. Truly incredible to see. I'm glad to see that the YouTube gods failed at striking him down. For those unaware, this is a part 2 follow-up to the video we did covering the first couple entries to the Shin Sonic Tapes. I'll have a link down below for that first part. The series follows a pretty simple premise. Sonic has resorted to eating the critters around his world. We saw Eggman try to create little robot armor for them, but once Sonic caught word of that, it was game over for Eggman. Sonic is even able to corrupt Tails, who is able to duplicate himself to aid Sonic in kidnapping a whole bunch of people. It isn't just animals he's going after, but us humans as well. Now it's become a problem. As the series went on, he also just continued to morph and morph into larger variants, akin to Shin Godzilla himself. We got a bit of demonic imagery with the statue our police officer found, but other than that, the reason why Sonic has gone evil hasn't been made clear. The story then shifts once Knuckles has been introduced, becoming our protagonist of the series. Where we last left off, Sonic had reached an unimaginable size, but still retained his speed. We learn he is going after the emeralds, and in his enlarged state is able to absorb one of them before vanishing. Knuckles proposes the idea to go back in time to find all the emeralds, to then bring them back to the present to use against Sonic, endgame style. We see him on the time travel pad before we are brought to where we are now. As always, be sure to check out the original series that I'll have linked down below in the description. But without further ado, let's put on our best running shoes and our anti-hedgehog spray, and head into the past to search for these infamous emeralds to stop Shin Sonic once and for all. But before I let you get too far, just wanted to say if you're new here and enjoy what you're watching, be sure to hit all those neat buttons down below as it really helps support the channel. I'll also have linked in the description below our socials and the 4-player gaming channel where we dive into the terrifying world of horror video games. But anyways, now you can pass through. Past 1. The entry starts out right where we had left off, with Knuckles standing on the time travel platform, and we see as the machine activates. We see the scene from the previous entry fade into view, with Shin Sonic laughing maniacally in the reflection of Knuckles' eye. If we want to prevent Sonic from getting to that point, we need to stop him from obtaining all the Chaos Emeralds. We are then brought to the past, and I said this a lot in the last video, but the animation just keeps getting better per entry. At this point, this is just a 2D animated series, and my god, is it animated so well. Knuckles looks around at his new surroundings before walking towards a cliff to see the hidden palace zone 3,000 years ago. For those non-Sonic fans, I'll try to help you out here with some lore, even though I know next to nothing about it either. Although since the last video I have seen all 3 live-action movies, and goddamn are they peak. The hidden palace zone was shown off in one of the Sonic games, and is apparently where the emeralds are held. Knuckles does a super leap and lands in the zone, but is quickly met with a quick vision of Sonic looking as terrifying as ever, almost looking like another emerald in the present has been obtained. As Knuckles moves further into the area, we see someone who looks like a much older echidna resting, until they notice that they have a guest. Before Knuckles can get very far, he is stopped by the older creature. He asks Knuckles why he isn't with the rest of the clan, but when he takes a closer look, he realizes he doesn't recognize this echidna at all, and orders him to state his name and business. Knuckles tells him he isn't of this land, and tells him he's in dire need of the emerald's power, and we quickly learn that he maybe shouldn't have been so forward.
Huh?
Knuckles gets his shit rocked, and we learn that this guy has been guarding these emeralds for decades, so getting him to give them up is going to be hard. He tells us to get lost, as he does not want to kill us. But Knuckles isn't going to back down so easily, and boy does he know how to aura farm, I tell ya. The two get ready and leap at each other, but we fade to black before the action can fully begin. However, to end off this tape, it looks like we are taken inside of Shin Sonic, and we see that very familiar demonic statue, with 4 out of the 7 emeralds already within. It is crazy how much the quality has improved. No wonder there is a big gap between entries. The time and effort are as clear as day. It's interesting that this tape was straight up a fully 2D animated Sonic short. From what I can find online, the hidden palace zone was also taken out of one of the games, so I imagine it's pretty cool to see it put to good use here. If I had to guess, somehow Sonic managed to consume whatever that statue is. Given its design, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that it is what turned Sonic evil. Isn't it strange that it has the perfect slots for those emeralds? Almost as if it was made to hold them. Something much larger is at play here, and I would like to find out that Sonic hasn't been going evil because it's his nature. someone must have been influencing things behind the scenes. Contingency. The first thing we see is Sonic in his giant state. He slowly raises up as we see jets fly in around him. He has his eyes set on the purple emerald. He lets out a loud roar, and the emerald begins to fly up at him. And man, this whole scene is just so fucking cool. Sonic laughs as the bombs burn him to a crisp, but we see at the last moment, he quickly is able to heal himself. Our next segment then takes us back into our classic analog horror format. I'm glad, because for a second there I was worried there would be no way in hell I could call this an analog horror anymore. We are met with a report from G.U.N, and we learn that it has been 26 hours since Knuckles left the past for the Super Emeralds. During this time, Sonic has obtained 5 of the Chaos Emeralds. Okay, hold up. These emeralds are starting to confuse me. So there are Super Emeralds and Chaos Emeralds, and it sounds like the Super Emeralds are more powerful than the Chaos ones, hence why Knuckles is going back to go retrieve them. I'll just try not to think too hard about it. It's said that a nuke was dropped onto Sonic but was proven to be ineffective. To rub salt into the wound, Sonic didn't even try to avoid the nuke. He just took it like a man to show off that he is just him. It's speculated that he is able to heal all wounds within seconds. However, a new opportunity has arisen. After Sonic took the 5th emerald, he went into a comatose state, and it's believed he is replenishing his own chaos energy. Unfortunately, even in this state, Sonic is able to keep up a good defense. Anyone or thing that dares go near him gets taken out by his quills. We then get the nerve-wracking fact that Sonic should wake back up in about 2 weeks once the energy reaches its default levels. However, now onto other news. Apparently a video has surfaced recently that shows off Tails in the midst of a split. We see as Tails splits in 2 as he shakes around, said to be similar to that of cell meiosis. Even though it's frightening, every new bit of information should help us out in the long run. How much it can help is still up in the air, as no weaponry has been able to put a dent. It's said that G.U.N realizes that they need to use this time to come up with a course of action to prevent the last 2 emeralds from being taken by Sonic, and we see exactly who they plan to have help.
Project Shadow. In order to continue our efforts in stopping what has become of Sonic, we need you to give us your account of what transpired when you fought.
From the sounds of it, Sonic and Shadow had faced off in the past. Did he go up against Shin Sonic off-screen? That's sort of what it sounds like, as they apparently need him to recount the fight, and we learn that G.U.N found him barely alive. Perhaps Shadow already had his hands on a Chaos Emerald and Sonic went and snatched it. Shadow tells them to check Robotnik's lab. Apparently there is someone there that could be of good use. We ask for clarification, but Shadow never answers. We learn that Shadow is undergoing upgrades, as a team is then sent out to Robotnik's lab. We cut ahead a bit and can hear people searching the lab, and wouldn't you know it, another surprise appearance.
I might have just found something. But what is it?
The next segment then begins, and we learn that during a search for missing persons, police stumbled upon an abandoned cabin deep in the hilltop County forest. Inside the cabin, there was evidence of a struggle. Chairs were toppled over and blood splatters were found. Also, a tape was found in a cabinet with a label written in Hebrew. And what's on this tape really looks to confirm my earlier theory.
We got him. We finally got him. Can't run anymore. He's weaker. The bacteria, it's working.
From the sounds of it, whoever these guys are found some sort of bacteria that was able to weaken Sonic, probably to make him unable to run fast. They then go on to say that they can now bring the— oh my gosh. For all you people accusing this of AI, there's your proof it's not. They then go on to say that they can now bring what they want into fruition, and that it will be beautiful. We then see Sonic tied to a chair, and he isn't looking too good. One of his ears has been cut off, he's missing teeth, and he may even be missing an eye. Why would they be doing this to our poor fellow? We then see as many hooded figures appear behind Sonic in the chair, and for a frame so brief, YouTube had trouble catching it even while going frame by frame. We can see what looks to be a straight up demonic entity, if not Satan himself. We then see Sonic looking more like his usual Shin self, and he has a message for us. These walls will not hold me for long. I am able to see you. Once I obtain the rest, my reach will extend beyond this cage. We then learn that there was a final piece of footage found in a camera that was almost destroyed, and what we see next is certainly an interesting scene to say the least. We see these 2 guys in red hoods, and this whole scene, funnily enough, is just a comedic moment between these 2 odd fellows who bicker amongst themselves. However, they do let some things slip here that gives us a clear idea of what they are planning.
In front of all the boys, and they don't respect me no more. You took off my underwear and everything. Who does that?
We live with a purpose. of reforming this wretched world into a utopia.
So it sounds like their goal is to use Sonic as some sort of vessel, used to bring human souls to this higher demonic entity, who will then bring about a new world. However, once the guy goes to try and release Sonic, he's able to pretty quickly turn them into mist.
Can't even frickin' do that right.
We learn that the two were identified as Straight Man and Rob Bob, killer names, and they had both been previously charged with aggravated assault, possession of controlled substances, and public urination. Sounds like this weird cult just went around to college campuses to get their cronies. It's questioned why Sonic just straight up killed them instead of eating them. It's believed this may have just started later on. We then learn that there was no trace of that bacteria in the cabin, the one used to weaken Sonic. We could have really used that, honestly. We are then shown these drawings, and we can quickly recognize the statue meant to hold the emeralds, even with a bunch of corpses scattered around it. Then, in the next drawing, we see the new world, with that same evil entity ruling over it all. Could it be that it is supposed to be Sonic's final form after he consumes the emeralds? Or will it just summon this entity to erase all life as we know it in the universe? Needless to say, Sonic cannot get those last emeralds, or else we are all doomed. It is then confirmed that inside Sonic's body is that statue with the emeralds, and it's believed this new weapon found in Robotnik's lab can remove the emeralds by force. We are then shown quite the interesting sight to end off this tape. Was that Mecha Sonic about to be put inside an even bigger Mecha Sonic? Holy Evangelion. It's awesome to see that the roster is continually expanding. It was only a matter of time before Shadow showed up. It also looks like Mecha Sonic may be the key into taking out Shin Sonic. This tape took us back to the present to show us Shin Sonic is still causing as much chaos as possible, all while Knuckles is still in the middle of a fight in the past. This also answered a lot of questions. We know that this wasn't Sonic's choice to be this way, at least to an extent. We know that he was kidnapped and tortured endlessly by this evil cult. It's possible Sonic was either brainwashed or just completely consumed by vengeance that he's just going on a murder spree. Who's to say? But I am very curious to see where this next and latest installment takes us, as it's clear the fight between Knuckles and the Elder Echidna continues in Past 2. Our entry begins and we are immediately brought back into the action with Knuckles and who I am now going to refer to as the Elder. The two clash, both seemingly even in strength. Knuckles is almost able to get a good hit off, and the Elder recognizes that Knuckles won't be an easy opponent. Knuckles is knocked to the ground and tries to go for another hit. However, this Elder is just whooping him like it's nothing. Knuckles resorts to just blocking the attacks, and is able to finally grab a hold of the Elder. He tries to reason with him, telling him this fight is pointless and the emeralds will be returned later. If I'm gonna be honest, if I was the Elder, I don't think I would trust this. The Elder doesn't say anything and is able to break free, and this is when we get a really crazy fight, and probably one of the coolest moments ever in a series covered on 4+. The fight continues to be just full anime, and it's a blast to see. A moment comes where everything slows down, and Knuckles is able to swipe at the Elder, which oddly freezes him, even though the hit wasn't strong. Knuckles prepares for the ultimate punch. It looks like this is it, but the Elder is the Elder for a reason. The Elder has won this fight, but he definitely didn't win it with ease. We cut to black, and are then taken back to the present. We see the giant Sonic unit, and are introduced to the commander, and it sounds like the plan is to power this giant unit with the last 2 emeralds. It's a big risk. If it loses, Sonic will have essentially been handed the emeralds. The big concern for them though is that Knuckles hasn't returned. If you think about it, Knuckles technically should have returned pretty instantly if everything went according to plan, leading them to believe that they probably can't rely on him anymore. Either that or he got sent into a new universe. Shadow is also still in recovery, so the Mecha Sonic must be used. He won't be alone however, as we see the silhouette of Rouge in the back, and Amy pulls back her hood, and boy does she look pissed. We are then brought back to the past. Knuckles slowly wakes up and sees the Elder sitting in front of him. He asks him why he hasn't been trained in the way of the Echidna, to which Knuckles comes clean. He tells him he is from the future and is the last of his kind. The Elder then says that Knuckles was stronger than he anticipated, revealing he has known him all along. As it turns out, Knuckles and Shin Sonic are all a part of some prophecy, and the Elder had to test Knuckles to see if he was the real deal. Before Knuckles can get the emeralds, the Elder is going to have to show him the ropes. The two grab hands, and we cut to black. Back to the present, we see Sonic has now woken up. The alarms are going off, and the Metal Sonic unit has been deployed. Sonic roars up at the sky, and the tape ends. This was such an experience, I gotta say. I'm really glad I decided to return to this series to see its updates, and boy was it worth it. The animation here is so impressive. 2D is incredibly hard, so huge props to all this work. The fight scene between Knuckles and the Elder was so cool to see, and the JJK reference was highly appreciated. Let's get the Maki fight next time, shall we? From the sounds of it, however, there is a cult out there that wants this demonic being to be brought back to life. And when he returns, he is meant to erase the world and rebuild it in a new image, a world without sin. And they tortured Sonic to make him their vessel to send human souls to this entity. This entity that they keep mentioning is named Moloch, and he's got some interesting history, but we will touch on just a little bit of that. Moloch is a deity that in the Bible is associated with the practice of child sacrifice. Sounds fun, right? His name is derived from the Hebrew terms king and shame, and is usually depicted as having that bull head. Interestingly enough, there really isn't much that is actually known about Moloch. Some even believe that he isn't a god or entity at all, but is just the act of sacrificing humans to a god. Some say that he isn't really mentioned all that much in the Hebrew Bible either, with the only references really being Leviticus 18:21 that states, "Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God, I am the Lord." Or Leviticus 22, that says anyone residing in Israel who sacrifices their children to Moloch must be put to death by stoning, along with very brief or sometimes just straight up vague mentions. I find that super fascinating that this is the direction the Shin Sonic series decided to go in. I am glad that this wasn't all Sonic's own doing. He didn't want to be evil. There really isn't all that much else to say about this series other than I am really excited to see the next installments to this story. The fact that we are going to get a giant Mecha Sonic versus Shin Sonic fight here soon is quite thrilling to think about. I also can't wait to see Knuckles and the Elder train together to get him ready for the big fight ahead. At this point, if you are just a fan of Sonic, you would probably find this very neat. It's worth the watch for the Knuckles fight scene alone. Needless to say, I highly recommend everyone check out this series, even though it looks like a ton of you already have. The view counts on these entries have skyrocketed since the last time I checked. That's just awesome to see. Huge props to Evanimas for beating the YouTube system and managing to come out better than ever. But that'll probably be about it for this week's video. As always, be sure to keep on leaving me recommendations down below, whether it be in the YouTube comments or the community Discord where we aren't torturing poor Sonic. But if you'll excuse me, I need to go catch up on my Sonic lore.